Welcome back to Me, Myself, and Healing. I am Alexis, licensed clinical social worker and mental health therapist. Thank y'all so much for joining us today. We got another special episode today, y'all. I am so excited. I have with me a licensed clinical social worker. She is an author. She's a mental health therapist. She is also a CEO and founder of Recommit to Yourself. I am so excited to have her here. She is a mother, a wife, and she is so dedicated to her work. And of course, we also have talked about her in our last episode. Kisha, thank you so much for being here.
Yes.
Welcome back to another episode.
Yes. I'm putting my time in here. Okay?
Yes. She's clocked in, y'all. She's doing the work.
All
Okay.
right. Yes.
Okay. She earned her stripes for Me, Myself, and Healing. She has earned it. So for today's episode, I definitely wanted to talk about the transition of healing, but going from singleness into parenthood. So Keisha, tell me,
It's ghetto.
it's ghetto.
You ain't gonna ask
I
a
didn't even
question.
came out with a question. It's just ghetto. In our last episode, y'all, if y'all haven't caught our last episode, please go back and watch it because there's a lot of gems and good information about being in a state of singleness and in a state of stillness in your singleness, right? We talk about isolation versus solitude. Just go back and watch the episode. But for today, I am wondering, like, when we talk about parenthood, especially in the last episode when we talked about the cycles of knowing, like, okay, I'm choosing to be single. Like, I'm choosing to be in a state of stillness. Does that cycle start over again when you become pregnant?
I say the solitude, yes, because now it's like, okay, I really got to do this work.
Yeah.
So whatever that I have not dealt with, I don't want to pass that on to my child or let this generational curse fall down. You know, so it's like, okay, you got to take that time in because now you got to care for your body, make sure your baby's healthy, you're not stressed. You know, you're not worried, you eating right, you're not gaining all this weight, you ain't got pre-diabetes. I mean, so much goes into just being pregnant by itself.
Yeah.
So it's like, yeah, this is your time to, like, love on you. Because I feel like whatever you're feeling when you're pregnant, your baby feels it. So I feel like if you're depressed while you're pregnant, I feel like your baby's going to come out and not be so social or so happy. You know, so how you feel when you're pregnant, I feel like, to me, I don't even know if it might not be a scientific fact, but for me, that's how I feel.
I mean, no, there is some research behind that because I believe, especially when we talk about intergenerational trauma, like a lot gets passed, like, from the mother or from, like, just the ancestral bloodline to, like, you know, the womb. And it happens so early. So it happens so early, meaning that, like, the minute that you're born, like, you're kind of already either recreating, like, those traumas, those behaviors, those thinking patterns.
Like predisposing your DNA.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Especially when we talk about families and like culture, like there's a lot that gets passed down through people's bloodline. So I definitely do believe that as well too, that, like, you know, happy mom, happy baby.
Yep.
Like, you know, it definitely goes a very long way. So I agree with that. But when you were being in your pregnancy, like, body changes. Right.
Girl.
Like, okay, because I know body dysmorphia is, like, a real thing, y'all. Body dysmorphia is when people can compliment you all day long about your looks, or about, you know, how they see you, but you don't see yourself that way.
Listen.
Right. And when you become pregnant, I know, like, from what I've seen on social media or what I've heard in other people's experiences and being in their pregnancy, their body changing is a big deal for them.
Listen, the weight gain in itself, the water weight is ridiculous.
Really?
I gained a smooth 35 pounds.
Really?
And at that time, I was in, like, my healthy kick, like, no beef, no pork, no dairy, you know, no sugar. Of course, you can't have alcohol. So, I mean, 35 pounds in itself, complete water weight.
Yeah.
And then that doesn't even go with, okay, now you got the stretch marks.
Right.
Your clothes don't fit.
Yeah.
Your nose is spreading. You're just like, oh my gosh, I just feel so fat. But you know, it's healthy. It's a reason it goes back down. Not to mention TMI, your nipples get dark, and I mean dark. I mean black.
Really?
Nobody told you that.
Does it go back to normal?
It does go back to normal after you had a baby. Your body goes through so many changes, and a lot of changes you don't know till it happens.
Right.
And you're just left to deal with it, and you still trying to love on yourself, but really you're like, oh my gosh, this is crazy.
And that's why I wanted to get into it today on today's episode and talking about pregnancy and talking about that transition. What I noticed in terms of, like, how I was educated on pregnancy and childbirth in social media or in media at all, like the experience that you can have while you're carrying a child, and just noticing how a woman's body changes and how women cope with that. I'm like, this is such a direct link to mental health. So in terms of like, you know, being a new mom or having another baby, and you're noticing that the pregnancy looks different and your body is changing, what tips would you give new moms or women who are thinking about, you know, going down the path of becoming pregnant? What tips would you give them to try to work through that body dysmorphia and the changes in their body?
Honestly, I would say start working out before you're pregnant, because you want to be able to still be healthy while pregnant. And it's hard to start a habit when you're pregnant and you're already tired and you don't have any energy and you're exhausted. So if you have those good habits beforehand, it'll definitely help. So like before I got pregnant, I was waking up like before work. So I'm going to the gym 6:30 in the morning, getting my little hour in, come home, get ready. Yeah. That's dedication. But then when you go through that phase of you feeling nauseous, you don't want to do nothing. You can't get out the bed. Right. Like you're just nauseous 24/7. So I took my little time off, and then it was so hard to get back into working out after that. I mean, and then just love on yourself. Like affirm yourself. Those affirmations work so good. Yeah. It doesn't have to be anything I'm pretty. Like, I mean, like, give yourself a real affirmation, okay? Okay, give yourself a real affirmation. Look yourself in the mirror. Love on yourself. Know that what your body is going through, these changes, they're not permanent. I mean, some last. The stretch marks are still there. But some go back to normal. You know, and this is for a greater cause to bring life into the world.
So how would you define affirmations? Because some people, like, I hear a lot of people talk about affirmations, but some people don't really know what it means. Like, is there a formula to create an affirmation for yourself? Like, I am amazing all the time. Like, how do you?
To me, it's just a statement that resonates with you. When you say it, you like, I feel that.
Gotcha.
You know? So what's that juvenile song everybody be like, this is my affirmation?
Are you talking about back that ass up?
It could be that one.
That's the only one that came to mind.
No. I mean, hey, that's the Black folks' anthem for the last 20 years, so that works too.
We gonna find it. Y'all, if y'all know the song, definitely add it in the show notes or in the comments.
Man, it's on the tip of my tongue. Oh my gosh, I'm gonna find it. Yeah. Okay, but literally, it could be a song that you are, you know, saying to yourself, just this phrase, like, okay, I'm safe, I'm good, I'm straight, you know, I'm well taken care of, I got it handled. I mean, it could be anything. So just your phrase that resonates with you, something that's gonna help you to shift your mind to where you need it to go.
Gotcha. So I know a lot of the times when it comes to like being in that pregnancy mode or going through transitions in general, people can start to notice that they lose themselves, right? So is it realistic to catch the signs of when you are losing yourself? Because a lot of the times when I think about pregnancy or when I think about becoming a wife or just making that big transition from self to family, I just think about that being like a compromise of me giving.
Girl.
Right?
Girl.
And a lot of the time I feel like that's kind of how people start to lose themselves because they're giving so much. But are there other signs to look out for when you're noticing that you're overly giving or that you're losing yourself?
I would just say, like, you're going to have to compromise because you now have to navigate that time that was just you and your alone time. Now you need to split that between you and your baby, you and your spouse, you know, you and whoever. So you already know that you have to now be selfless. So I guess what I'm thinking about is instead of saying I have to split my time, I get to. You know, I have to feed this kid and get up early in the morning. I get to feed my child. Like just doing that already shifts you from wanting to complain to being grateful. Like, okay, I have a baby now. Yeah. You know, there's a new life I'm creating, so I get to do this.
I like that.
But I mean, you're gonna lose yourself for that little bit of time because you're navigating a whole new world that you have never been through before. Yeah. So you're trying to figure out, how am I going to do this? But like they say, if you don't take care of you, how are you going to be able to take care of somebody else?
Very true.
If your cup is empty, how am I pouring into you?
Yeah.
So like me and my husband have a thing where I'm just like, okay, hey, take her because I need some time to myself. Like me and girl been boxing all day. okay, just give me 30 minutes or give me an hour. Y'all go run an errand. It's like, I just need that time to decompress from myself. Or I need to go do something on the computer. You know, can you handle her? So it's just knowing that, okay, have you had time to yourself? Have you had your thoughts together? Have you had a chance to pray today?
Yeah.
You know, things like that. Like, you look up and you ain't prayed in a month, like, okay, you clearly losing yourself. So what are things that you used to do that were your ways of self-care or soul care that you're no longer able to do?
Right, but does losing yourself kind of bring up feelings of grief?
Yes, because you're grieving your singleness. You're grieving that time that you had to yourself. You're grieving your freedom. That freedom is gone now. You're grieving just being able to get up and go.
Yeah.
You know, you're grieving, hey, you used to be able to spend money on whatever.
Yeah.
Get you
Swipe
a new
and
outfit.
not thinking about it.
You know, now you gotta be like, dang, my baby needs some diapers. I gotta buy groceries for the family. You know, so you're grieving. But and it's okay to grieve.
Yeah.
You know, you make space for you being able to grieve, and then you transition to what you have now and what you need to take care of.
I hear that, but I feel like a lot of times, like when I talk about grief or when people talk about just the sense of losing themselves, they talk about it almost as if a part of them has died, right? But I think when I think about grief, I think about the stages. Right? There's stages that you go through when you're having to know that, okay, what you were expecting versus your reality is different, right? When expectation versus reality is different, I think that just triggers grief. Like that brings up you going through the cycle of feeling that sadness, right? Feeling almost depressed or feeling like that anger or frustration, that bargaining that you have with yourself. Then eventually you do get, or denial as well too, because we can't forget that. But then also coming to a level of acceptance. But I'm wondering, when you lose yourself, do you have to part ways with the old version of you?
Definitely, because it's a new you growing.
Really?
You're evolving. So the old you may not fit your new life.
Yeah.
You know, just like old friends can't come with you to where you're going sometimes.
Very true.
You lose your friends and you're losing an old part of you. But instead of you thinking as it dying, just think, I'm shedding my old skin for a new me to blossom and grow. Because, I mean, yeah, girl, old me was like, ill, affection, no. Don't want that. Get out of my personal space. Like, leave me alone. And now I'm like, okay, I'm kissing my baby. This feels normal, you know. So
this is good.
Parts of you are gonna die, most definitely. You know, so it's normal. I think it's normal. Don't look at it as this is a terrible process. Look at it as what's to come. I have to look forward to.
So what I'm hearing is that basically perspective is everything.
Perspective is everything. Yep.
Perspective is everything.
Yep.
Also, I'm like trying to learn like just like the ways in which people are navigating like parenthood and making that transition from being in their singleness to now being in family mode, right? And is it realistic to believe that you can maintain your lifestyle?
I can say to a certain extent, but that extent is small.
Really?
Okay, because your now sole focus is the child, and then what comes with the child. You know, so like before it could be, you know, hey, I come home from work and take a nap. Like that's number one before anything else. But now it's like, what nap? Nap where nap does not exist. So now it's like, okay, my kid is napping. Do I nap with her to get rest, or do I go wash the dishes? Do I go take a shower? Do I go do some work calls?
Yeah.
So now it's like parenthood. I tell my cousins, nobody told me parenthood was you always being in a rush and on a time limit.
Really?
Because that is what it feels like. Especially when your kid is little and you can barely shower for 7 minutes before they scream at the top of their lungs. You're in a rush constantly. And now it's like all about time management. I got an hour and a half. What am I finna do?
Yeah.
You trying to multitask and do 10 different things. Now you got ADD. You all over the place. Like, it's a struggle. No, for real. So maintaining your lifestyle is completely different.
I feel that.
It's completely different. Like, even now, trying to get my nails done. Like, I used to get my nails done maybe like every Friday, like clockwork. Now it's like, okay, when is her dad going to be home? When am I going to have a babysitter so I can go get my nails done? Like, you have to coordinate every little part of your life. So it's different.
Yeah, and then I think the one thing that I definitely notice is that there's a level of support that moms need, right? And sometimes that support can look very different, depending on if there's a dad in the home or if there's a partner in the home, or the circumstances have changed and they're doing things by themselves. And I'm wondering, like, does that the level of support that you receive during and after your pregnancy, does that impact postpartum?
I'm going to say yes. So I've been able to look at other people who didn't have that support, and I
Yeah.
see they're more likely they did have postpartum, whether they knew it or not. But you look back and you see the signs, and you're like, okay, what you were going through was postpartum. But of course, we don't label it like that. Like we talked about in the last episode, we're functional. We think we're fine.
Yeah.
But I feel like I was really grateful that I had support.
Yeah.
Not even just from my significant other, but like my family, my friends, strangers. You know, like I was telling you, this random lady who just, hey, God told me to ask, do you have a kid?
Yeah.
I said, well, I'm pregnant with one. Okay, can I pray for you? I got into a car wreck. A lady was like, hey, can I pray for you until the ambulance comes? So it was things like that that let me know, okay, God, you got me. Because listen, parenthood was not on my checklist right now.
Wow.
So I had the support. Like whatever I needed, you know, my spouse was there for me. My family was there for me. My friends let me know, like, hey, if we're trying to go get some crayfish, like bring your kid. You know, we're there for you. We have your village. You know, we're gonna watch her. You're not by yourself. So I'm grateful that my friends let me know, like, we got you. You know, my family's always like, hey, you need to drop her off. Let me know. You know, so y'all can go have a date night. So I can only imagine how hard it is for people who don't have that support.
Right. But how would you define postpartum? Like what? Because, of course, I encourage on this episode or Me, Myself, and Healing podcast, there's different ways on how mental health can look. So, and postpartum is a part of mental health. So, how would you describe
for
the
me,
signs and what that looks like?
I would say if you feel like, one, you can't connect with your child. Or you're not basking in, you know, the smell and the cuddles of my new baby. You know, you feel like, hey, I can't connect with my baby. I don't feel like their mom.
Yeah.
I feel more upset. I'm crying all the time. I'm irritated. To me, that's postpartum. And maybe still dealing with the body dysmorphia. You look in the mirror and maybe you start crying because you see your belly's bigger. You got stretch marks now. And not just having a moment, but like this is you for months to come. And postpartum can last for 2 to 3 years after your baby.
Really?
So yes, you can still be navigating those issues and you still feel depressed and you're still isolating yourself. So postpartum not only messes with your hormones, but like your mental state as well.
So when someone noticed that, like, okay, they're not connecting, they're not able to, you know, bask in the cuddles, does that also affect like their thinking and how they perceive themselves as a mom?
Yes. And I've even read that some women have those thoughts of like, what would happen to my baby if I drop them right now, or if I put them in the oven? Like postpartum can be having those crazy flash moments of what would happen if I did this. And so to me, that's your sign that you need to get help. And that means you being able to be transparent with yourself as well as others to say, hey, something's not right. I need help. I need you to take my baby. I need a break. You know, I'm not feeling like myself. I need to go see a therapist. Okay. So in order to get the help, you have to ask for the help.
Very true. And I think the signs of postpartum, like people don't normally catch them. So what would be some tips that you would like, you know, encourage, or some tips that you would share with new moms who are experiencing postpartum, but they may be, you know, in the cycle of just trying to, you know, figure it out themselves.
Get by. That's a tough one. Honestly, you have to be, if you're transparent with yourself and you're in tune with yourself, that's number one. Like if you're not in tune with yourself, you're not going to understand how you're feeling, why you're feeling this way. You're not even going to know to get help because you're not in tune with you. So you have to take that time for some introspection, to look within yourself, like do your evaluation, you know, like, okay, these 4 areas of my life, you know, how am I dealing with this? How am I dealing with this? What's my response? Have I been on edge more lately? Have I been more tearful, more emotional? If somebody asks me how I'm feeling, if I'm like, I don't know, but I'm crying, you know, those are the signs. So my tip is always pray. One, you got to be in prayer because God's going to help us do some things that we can't do. We're not going to understand it, but we need the strength. And do your research to find a therapist. You know, a lot of therapists, they don't have to be in person these days. You can do virtual. Read a good book. Do some, it can be a book on spiritual. It can be a book on postpartum. Do your research. Go online. Look to see how people are navigating it. What are the signs and symptoms? Because like you said, a lot of times we're dealing with it, but we don't know we're dealing with it.
Very true.
So you may need to read to know, like, oh, I I actually have 5 things on this checklist I didn't even know.
Mm-hmm.
So we can name it. That way, if you name it, you're then able to know what to do with it.
That's fair. And I feel like when it comes to those support systems, as you mentioned, or family, or having a partner that's there, tell me more about that, right? How because some people are kind of used to being in a state of independence, right? Or just doing everything with themselves.
Girl.
And they can notice that they're doing those same habits in like being a parent. So what are the signs in knowing that, okay, you probably should be reaching out for help and asking for support, right? Because let's be real here, support sometimes can be a luxury, right?
Yes,
It could be a
yes,
privilege.
yes.
Not everyone does get that level of support. So how would you encourage new moms, or what tips would you share in terms of like reaching out for that support and in those relationships?
I would say you don't have to do everything by yourself.
Yeah.
And even me, I'm still learning. Like, I remember trying to get everything ready for our baby shower. And, you know, I'm just...
You was doing it all by yourself?
Girl, I planned my whole baby shower. Okay? But, I mean, people ask. Don't get me wrong. They ask. But
Yeah.
I know me, and I'm like, y'all ain't gonna do what I like. And I'm gonna complain. And then y'all gonna say Kisha acting funny.
Yeah.
So, to prevent that whole argument, I just did it.
Gotcha.
And then I, like, assign people, this is your task. This
Okay,
is
so
what
you
do.
delegating and leading.
Yeah, so I remember buying, like, I went on Amazon, bought all my decorations, I got
Yeah.
everything, and then I'm like, why I gotta keep paying for everything? I got a whole man over here. So it's like, I don't have to do everything by myself. So I text him like, hey, can you go look for this, or can you pay the DJ for this? You know, even when it's groceries, I ain't gotta bring them things in by myself no more. Like, I'm not Superwoman, and I'm not gonna act like I'm Superwoman. I don't have to be in that independent state anymore.
Fair.
So it could be something simple like that. Like, hey, can you go get these groceries? Instead of me
Yeah.
getting them, then I come in like, y'all just ain't gonna help me. Y'all just gonna sit on the couch and everybody gonna say nothing. You know?
Right.
So it's being okay that you don't have to do everything by yourself anymore. It's okay to get help, and it's okay to delegate. It's okay to assign roles. It's okay to ask for help. Because when you do everything on yourself, you're wearing yourself out. You're struggling trying to keep up with all these different things when you don't have to.
That's fair, but then what if the relationships are changing? Because relationships do change. People do change.
They do change, but you got to be honest with them people that it's changing. Like, okay, I used to braid hair all the time. Like, Sundays and Saturdays was, let me braid some hair, do some box braids, get some money.
Yeah.
So now, to this present day, my family, Kisha, you have to do some braids? No, ma'am. I'm in retirement. I cannot do anything. I do not have the capacity. Layla gonna be over here crying. We're gonna have to stop 5 times. It's gonna take 2 days to do your braids. You're gonna tell people I'm slow. I don't have time for that. So they're gonna change. They're gonna transition. But you have to be honest with yourself and with those people to be like, hey, this is my capacity for this moment. I don't have capacity for anything else. I want to let you know that. I'm not acting funny. I love you. I'm going to come support you when I can. But right now, I'm called to be at home more often. Or I can't come out late at night no more because I got to put my baby to bed. Or I got to deal with the house, whatever it is. So you let them know. We're in this transition state. But if they're your real friends or family, they should be understanding.
Yeah,
and people aren't. I understand.
I mean, because the way that you're talking about it, Kisha, is like you're talking about it as if communicating is easy.
It's not easy, but if you want to maintain your relationships, you have to start communicating.
Fair.
Okay, so it's hard to find those words. Don't get me wrong,
because it can feel like confrontation, like
listen,
or like you're letting people down, especially if you're used to people pleasing.
Yes, yes, but you know that's why you say, "Hey, I can't make it to this event, but." Tell me when you would like for us to hang out.
Yeah.
So give an alternative. If you're really stuck on people pleasing, give me your alternative. Or hey, I'm free on this day. Do you want to hang out with me, even though I can't make it on Thursday?
So you're saying make it work for you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Definitely, because you know, why would you make yourself do something you don't want to do? Then you got an attitude the whole time because you don't even want to be there.
True.
And you over here complaining instead of enjoying the moment.
We've all been there.
Okay.
We've all been there. But I hear that in a sense of like navigating friendships and family relationships. But what about romantic relationships? Because I have seen it time and time again where women start uncovering either lies or truths that have came up either during their pregnancy of either their spouse cheating on them while they were pregnant, or their spouse just not coping with the changes of their body, or the fact that they're not giving their undivided attention to them anymore. And that breaks a lot of relationships. And I see a lot of women internalize that, and they, you know, start to think that they just aren't enough or they weren't doing enough. And that's very hard. It's very, very hard. So when we talk about romantic relationships and those changes, what are your thoughts on that?
Girl, all the above I have been through. Currently may still be going through some of those. I saw this reel on Instagram yesterday. It said our partners resent us for the transitions we go through in motherhood. And I felt that so deep because even present day, like me and my husband are still trying to figure out how do we navigate our time together after dealing with the kids all day, dealing with school, dealing with work, cleaning the house, XYZ. By the end of the day, you're tired. And your spouse may want some time together, and I'm like, boy, I don't have it. I'm tired, and I can't say leave me alone because then I'm shutting out my partner. So honestly, I'm still going through it. And it is a struggle, and it takes a lot of conversations, a lot of uncomfortable conversations, a lot of arguments, a lot of prayers to be like, all right, God, I don't know what to do. I just ask that you work on me and him, change our hearts, our posture, all that, because it's a struggle. Like, for that one, girl, I don't have an answer. Okay, it's a struggle. But you just have to be dedicated to trying to make it work.
Yeah, I believe that. And I especially when I'm working with couples, or what I have learned as a therapist, is that it really does take two people to make a relationship work. Like, but the minute that one person is 1 foot out or 1 foot in, that's where everything just kind of shifts. And you open up yourself to the vulnerabilities of cheating, right? Or to, being unfaithful in your relationship in whatever capacity that looks like, either emotionally or physically. So I do agree with that. Like, you both have to be equally like 10 toes down for each other, wanting to like figure it out. But it is hard.
It's very hard. And you just got to be like, listen, I'm trying to make this marriage work. We got these generational curses we trying to break. We trying to make an empire, whatever it is. So that's what I have to remember at the end of the day. Like, I may be very exhausted. I may be frustrated. I may not like you right now. But I remember this is what I signed up for.
Right.
I remember them vows that we said to each other. And that's what I have to remember. Like, all right, Kisha, let it go. Kisha, forgive him. Kisha, push yourself. Give him that couple of minutes to cuddle and have pillow talk and talk about how your day went, things like that. So all I can say is hard. And you got to be dedicated to it.
Well, I'm glad you're being transparent about that, because I hear a lot of women talk about, their journeys, or a lot of couples talk about their journeys, and they're giving like social media like the cute package, like, oh, you can make it work, all you got to do is this. Girl. And it's just like, people are doing that. People are doing that, and it's hard, it's challenging. And I think in this year, in 2024, I've seen a lot of people not use relationship goals. Like, y'all, I be on social media, and I'm so proud of y'all for not saying relationship goals to not one single one person.
The ones that we would say relationship goals to, now they not together, and you be like, dang,
it was coming out.
Okay.
The reality. So I hear just sitting in the realities of where you are in your relationships, rather than masking or being in like a performative acting as if things are okay. But it is tough.
It is tough, and it's okay that it's tough, because that's your journey that you're going on. And when you look back, when you make it through the other side, you're like, dang, we went through that, and we survived it. We got, some experience under our belt, and, we know what to do next time. But every day is a learning experience. And marriage is like every day looking in the mirror, and you're like, okay, what do I got to work on today? And that's tough.
I mean, someone had told me, like, when you're in a relationship, whether you're like married or y'all are dating or it's committed, like, it's like someone is holding up a mirror and saying like, oh, you need to do some more healing here. Oh, nope. You thought you was done with this? No, go back and go tend to that. Like, it's always kind of like you mirroring the other person of like where you were, or what more work needs to be done in your journey.
Literally, you be like, dang, I've been working. I've been putting in the time, Lord. What is it enough? But you got to keep going. That's what it is. Dedicated. You're choosing every day to make your relationship work.
That's fair. And family, culture, does that influence parenthood? Because there are a lot of mothers out here who do, from what I've seen, get a lot of unsolicited advice. Or they are trying to uphold the expectations of what their moms did, or what their husband's moms did, or what the mother-in-law believes that they should be doing. So I'm wondering, does that negatively influence how people parent? Like, when do you draw the line?
From jump. Turn your ear off. Don't listen to nobody, okay? Because from jump, people are telling you, oh, when you have your baby, you do this. Don't lay them on the back. Don't lay them on their stomach. Don't let them sleep by themselves. Don't put no blankets in the crib. Like, it's so many things. And you're just like, Okay, let me figure out what works for me. Because again, like my mama, she hasn't, thankfully, but she could be like, hey, your man ain't supposed to be doing this what your baby not supposed to be doing. And then I do that, and then it doesn't work for my relationship, and it made something worse. So it's just like, navigate it for yourself.
True.
Do the own experience, see how it goes, and then it worked for you or it didn't work for you. Because everybody got something to say, but everybody isn't in your relationship. Everybody's not raising your kid either. Yes. So you need to know, we're gonna try this and we're gonna see how it works.
Okay, so when it comes to the baby being here, right? Like this person is walking, they're talking, like they talking back, and you're like, oh my God, this is me. I can see myself in this child, or I can see like how this they got that trait from their daddy, or like, oof, this is something that. So I'm wondering, like, as you see your child grow, or you kind of learn the behaviors and the personality that your child has, like, how do parents draw the line in establishing kind of like those boundaries between what they believe are their own hopes and dreams, right, versus the hopes and dreams that they want for their child? Because a lot of projection, as a therapist, I see that, and the projection is very common in families, right? And projection is something, and the kids can take that on, even like, and it just continues to create its own cycle. So I'm like, how do people know, especially moms, know when to draw the line of like, okay, this is my thing, and this is not my child's issue. This is my issue.
Yeah, you got to sit down with yourself and be real with yourself. Yeah, like, ask yourself, is this me? Yeah. Is this my kid? Is this my mother? Is this my grandma? You got to be able to decipher what's coming from where. I think when you asked me, 2 shows came to mind. I know we ain't got a social media yet, but it came to my mind. Okay, so when I think about like my wife and kids,
I love that show. Oh my gosh,
how they parented.
Yes, I love. I've been on Netflix watching it back. Like I'm like on season 2, and I am so like locked in right now. I love it.
Like when the kids got in trouble, it wasn't no cussing you out. It wasn't no whoopings. It was, we're gonna make a lesson out of this. We're gonna make it fun, but you're gonna learn your lesson. Yeah. Like that's how I want to be able to parent. That everybody want to do this gentle approach. Yes, the gentle. But I get it, because whoopings did help. Don't mean, to a certain extent. Sometimes you do need your butt whooped. But also, if you gonna whoop me, explain to me what happened. But our parents didn't do that.
I don't know if I believe in corporal punishment for a child.
It doesn't work, because their child right now can't even reason.
Exactly.
So you're just whooping them for what? And then they think, now this is how I handle my frustrations. And now you've created that trauma to be trickled down. So instead, like, I want to be able to talk to my kid, to reason with them, explain to them so they can understand. I want her to be able to ask me questions. We have that open dialogue, instead of do as I say, it is what it is, don't ask no questions, and that's it. Like, that don't work no more. So even what we've went through as kids, you already know some things that you don't want to carry down. You already know to cut that off, or what made me feel unloved as a kid. I want to make sure that I don't do that to her.
I mean, that's fair. I feel like to have that knowledge and that insight, you got to take some time to reflect, right? But in some cases, some people, like I said, sometimes pregnancy can happen unexpected. It wasn't on your timeline. It wasn't something that you planned for or were thinking about, and now you have to do the work. And so would you encourage for new mothers to go to therapy while they're pregnant?
Yes, girl, definitely. Because a lot of times you got issues that you don't even know are there until that one moment happens and you triggered, and you don't know why you triggered, and now you want to cry because you're so frustrated. Definitely. Okay, listen, hands down, go to therapy, talk to somebody, because a lot of times our friends are just, some of our friends, they gonna tell us what we want to hear. Girl, no, you were wrong. It was fine.
You was so right, girl. Like, nuh-uh. They needed to sit down. Why they not like that reaffirming?
So yes, go do the work. And like, even for me, like, the pregnancy wasn't planned. It happened, but it was like boom, 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 boom. So I don't regret it. I mean, that man been 10 toes down. I ain't had no issues, thankfully. I guess I learned my lesson.
She broke the cycle, y'all.
I broke the cycle finally. But I mean, we navigated through it. We hopped on it, made it work, and we here, and it's been a great experience. It's hard.
Does parenting styles differ?
Yes, they do differ. I mean, it could be something simple. Like, let's say she in the cabinet, ain't got no business in the cabinet, right? But she
How did she get there?
Right, but she hit her head. I'm gonna be like, oh, my baby, come here. He gonna be like, aha, that's what you get.
Why are men like that?
It's something simple like that. The style's different. Or it could be a punishment. Like my mama, when she punished us, it was like a month. This is your start on the calendar. She circled the start date, your end date.
Whoa.
She taking away phones, stereo, CD player. You know, back then, you had your boombox, all that.
It's gone.
She taking out the cord. You ain't doing no dial-up internet.
The dial-up, oh my gosh, the sound. I just remember it in my head.
But he so he has a son. So we have 2 kids in the home now. So when the son get in trouble, he'll just he'll say, no Xbox for you.
Gotcha.
Baby, the remotes are still in the room. The TV
and kids are very smart and creative.
Okay.
Yeah.
So finally he's learning, okay, let me take the remotes out the room. And I'm like, okay, finally, thank you.
Yeah.
So it's different styles already. Because I'm like, man, I would have took the TV off the wall. I taken the Xbox, the remote, the cell phone, whatever, the Nintendo Switch. And he's like, oh, no, he good. I'm like, okay.
See, I am a firm believer of gentle parenting. I like that more and more parents are using other approaches when it does come to parenting, because that is a little human, a person that's trying to figure out the world. But like you're a parent, you got a head start more than them.
Yep.
And I noticed that a lot of parents, they put very high expectations on children. And I'm just wondering that when it comes to like gentle parenting, or when it comes to just like raising a child in general, what do you think are like some tips that you would give like new moms and dads out there who are trying to figure out like, okay, how do I provide discipline? How do I provide the lesson, right? Because I do believe that sometimes like the education or the lesson can get lost if you're too focused on the discipline.
Facts. I mean, number one, you have to tell yourself to just relax and cool down and not take your frustration out on your kid. Because it's easy for they ain't listen all day. They did something, you done something 10 times. Now you got to deal with the repercussions. And you want to hit your kid. Like, you want to spank and be like, I told you not to do that.
Yeah.
But that does nothing because they're tiny, they're little, they're like a sponge soaking up everything right now.
Right.
You know, so you want to be careful to not be able to do something that's detrimental to them, but also explain why you shouldn't do this.
Absolutely.
So that's number one. And then you just got to take it slow. Give yourself grace. Like, you're going to mess up as a parent. You're not going to know all the answers. You know, you might be like, hey, what do I do with this? Because I'm confused.
Yeah.
But you have to give yourself grace to know, like, you're going to make mistakes. You don't know it all. You can reach out to somebody, say, hey, how did you handle this?
Yeah.
So when it comes to that advice, you don't have to take all the advice that's coming to you, but reach out to somebody to get the advice as needed. You know?
Yeah. I mean, that's the difference between solicited versus unsolicited advice.
Right.
Like, you know, basically where you could be doing more of, right? You can get better in. But I think what I do adore and cherish so much about, you know, families, and especially Black families, and how like they're raising their children, that they're encouraging more of a dialogue, right? And my household, baby, there was no dialogue. Like, my mom said what she said,
and that was it.
I said what I said, and that was it.
And get out my face, because I'm tired of looking at you.
Like, that was it. But me, I was the type of child. Yeah, so I know you said what you said, but that don't make sense because I just thought about that. Like, I will always do that. And like, and the thing is, like, me and my mom, we can go back and laugh at that now, but as a child, like, that really did a number on me, you know. And I had to go through my own therapy, and I learned, I was like, it's okay to be outspoken. Like, it's okay to have that dialogue with your children, because they don't understand, right?
And you know what, which came to me, okay, I saw a podcast that said when you're a kid, you get in trouble and you're sent to your room, you've now low-key have been taught that when you have your problems, you isolate yourself.
You got to deal with it yourself.
Yes.
And
so as an adult, we are now going through these things, and what do? We isolate ourselves.
Isolate, yes.
And instead of handling the problem, reaching out to somebody, and this is what your parent did to you. They didn't know this is what they were creating.
Yes.
And now you have to be able to be able to recognize that, and then B, reverse that and work on that.
And I think that is so interesting, because when I was in college, like, I have a friend group, like, we've been friends since, oh my gosh, I think we've been friends since middle school, and we know everything about each other, but what we don't know is our lowest moments. We don't know our lowest moments with each other, because even in college, it was just so interesting because we all lived together for the very first time. We in this big campus. We done finally got an apartment. Like, okay, we are here, and it was just so interesting. But like, us being in isolation, and we would go into isolation whenever a problem would occur in our personal lives. go into isolation. And it was just so interesting because then when we come out of it, when we come out of the problem, whatever, or we get on the other side of whatever it was, we be like, yeah, girl, whew, yeah. So you remember when I was in my room?
Right. I've been dealing with, and y'all don't even know.
Yeah, and then it was so crazy. And that's when we realized it was like, this is an issue in our friendship. Like, it was just so interesting to see like how, and we have really deep conversations, and that's the crazy thing about it. We would have very deep conversations, but like our friendship needed that moment because we all noticed that we were all doing it, and we were curious, like, why are we doing this? Like, right. And we're like, oh, it's because our mothers did that, and not because our mothers did that, but because that's how we were raised as children, to just deal with things on our own. Yep. And then we realized, like, oh, this doesn't work for our friendship, because we want to be in each other's business. Like, we want to know, like, what's wrong. Like, tell me to see, like, girl, what's going on? Why you not talking? Like, what's going on? Same. And I think that once we realize that as a friend group, everything has just evolved. Like, we'll call each other, let each other know when we're down. I let them, like, we see each other cry. Like, it's real, you know. But it's authentic. So it's very, very interesting how you say, like, it starts at home, and like you could just notice how those behaviors start to manifest, you know, as you become older. So that makes a lot of sense. But let's get into social media. Because I love this part of like the podcast where we talk about how social media can kind of influence or plays a role in, like, you know, parenthood. So when you think about parenting, like, and you think about the celebrities or social media influencers that are out there, who did you see, like, you know, in terms of when you were growing up or being in your singleness or making that transition, who did you necessarily see that was, you know, mothering, but in a way that was inspiring?
I'm going to start with, as a kid, seeing the Cosby Show and the way that they dealt with all the kids when they got in trouble. Like when Theo, they were trying to teach Theo how to manage his money.
Yeah, I remember that.
And
episode.
Everything cost everything in the room. I mean, when Vanessa went to the concert, she got in trouble.
Yes.
So just seeing, like, okay, I don't have to yell at my kid to discipline them.
Yeah.
Like, I can teach them this real life lesson, and it's going to stick with them longer than me yelling at them and whooping them. And then, like I said, my wife and kids, they made everything funny.
They did.
You know, but you still learned your lesson.
Yes.
Okay. So I like that. And then nowadays on social media, like, I'm seeing a lot of videos of like how moms be like, you know, when your kid asks you, can you pick them up from the mall and take them to the mall, and then moms complain, but then they still do it after they complain. So I'm seeing stuff like that makes me think back to my childhood, but it's funny and I can see the humor in it now that I'm older.
Yes.
But back then I'm like, oh, I remember that. Or like, you get in trouble because you didn't take out the meat when your mama said take it out.
Oh, girl. You know? The flashbacks that just came up, like the horror. I don't know if y'all saw it on my face.
I saw you. The way you like, listen. So now when I see influencers make these videos, I send it to my mom now, and I'm like, "This is you." Okay, and we can laugh about it now. But back then, I was like, "Oh, she's so mean."
Yeah. You know, I just forgot. Like,
okay. So I mean, it definitely influences it, and then like I said, everybody wants to do this gentle parenting now.
Yes.
Like that's the new thing, because I think we've all realized, like, hey, how we grew up isn't working. Like the no communication, the being strict and tough on your child, and then you got parents fighting their kids literally. Like that's crazy.
Y'all, the abuse has to stop.
It does. It really does. And we thought it wasn't abuse, but think about it, you're like, no, this was abuse.
The abuse has to stop.
Okay.
Yeah.
So those things have kind of like, okay, shine the limelight for me to be like, okay, I can try this. You know, when I become a parent, and now I'm a parent, I'm like, okay, when we get to this example, I can use this.
Yeah.
So it's just finding things that work out for you. Having fun with your kids.
Have fun, yeah.
Parents back then, they couldn't have fun. They was.
I mean, for a lot of reasons. It was a lot of finances. Yeah. But I do remember, like, you know, if someone were to ask me, like, were y'all poor as a child? And the little girl me would be like, no, we're rich. Like, we're sitting on top of the world here. But, like, now as an adult, looking back on my childhood, I was like, oh, we were on hard times.
Beans and weenies and Spam from a can, ain't no way.
Girl, we were putting syrup on a bread. Syrup sandwiches. Love that. Hello.
Girl.
That's like the new honey bun.
Baby, butter toast.
Yeah.
With some powdered sugar and some jelly.
Now you got French toast. We made it work. Yes. But it's just very interesting now. And I do wonder that, like, do parents, like, especially in your journey, and, like, you know, how you and your husband are trying to raise your kids and everything, do you all find yourself overcompensating sometimes?
I'm gonna say definitely. even like with him and his son, like, you know, his son goes back and forth between his mom.
Yeah.
So the days that we do have him, it's just like go, go, go.
Yeah.
You know, he's like, as soon as they get home, let's go play basketball outside. And I'm like, you don't want to sit down on the couch and relax? Like, you don't want to take a nap? Like me, I'm gonna take a nap. He like, no, I gotta get it in. I don't have much time with him. And so he overcompensates like that.
Oh, gotcha.
So for me and Layla, it's just like, oh girl, the other day we at the store, she see 2 stuffed animals.
I said, let's get it.
Throw a fit. Throws a fit because she wanted it. And I'm like, man, them animals ugly. You don't even need them things. Girl, why I bought the 2 animals?
Of course you did.
I became the parent I have talked about.
Yeah, yeah.
And I said, oh my gosh, this is what it's about to be like. Buying this girl everything just because we can buy it.
Yeah.
You know? I'm just like, man.
It happens.
Overcompensation does happen. And I get, you want your child to have a better life than you had.
Yes.
You know, you want to be able to spoil them and shower them with love.
Yeah.
But sometimes we do need to stop the overcompensation.
That's fair.
And that's a whole episode.
That is.
You know.
Yeah, we're going to have another episode about parenting. Okay, we're going to have Kisha back.
It ain't the end.
It's
okay?
not.
I'm only a year in, but baby, I've learned a lot.
So, overcompensation, I know we talked a lot about parenting today. I know we talked a lot about pregnancy and mental health as well. But if you were to create a playlist or think about artists that, like we said, right, that are on social media or that are just in the media in general, that, like, you know, embodies, like, you know, parenting and, like, the realities of parenting, who comes to mind? Because I know one.
Okay, I'm going to think of, Cleo Soul.
I love her, yes.
She came out with the album about motherhood.
It was beautiful.
So I think about something like that. Like, I want to listen to somebody who makes motherhood seem magical.
Yes.
It makes you feel calm and relaxed and at peace and like, I feel empowered now that I listen to it. She comes to mind. Janae Aiko had the Lullaby.
Yeah, that
album.
was beautiful.
I think about people like that. Like, I'm more R&B.
Yeah.
You know, I listen to rap seldomly. I'd be like, oh, this ruckus.
I feel like when I listen to R&B, they're like, this is my baby. I love my baby. And like, well, yes, I'm, you know, enjoying my baby. But then when I listen to rap, it's I'm hiding the world for my baby. Like, no one gets to see my baby.
Okay.
But let's talk about that, because I do notice that some parents, they create a social media presence for their children. Do you believe in that?
I will post her on my story.
Well, how are you posting? Are you putting a heart over her face? Are you putting
no,
an emoji?
She's shown.
Okay.
But like what we did is we waited a month before we posted her at all on social media. And then after that month came, I posted like, hey, 1 month, Layla's arrival.
Yeah.
You know, this is what we did. And then now if I post her, it's like in our family pictures. Like Christmas pictures, the maternity pictures. Well, she was already there. Okay, but, you know, Christmas pictures. We had our wedding. You know, I posted her then. Other than that, I only post her when I'm like, hey, happy 7 months to Layla, or 1 year old Layla. You know.
So you would never put her on her own social media account?
Her own? No, not yet.
Gotcha.
For me, no, because it just seems weird when they're like, it's my daddy's birthday. Like, that's the caption. I get people do it. You know,
people do it.
My sister has a page for her kids.
People do it.
I'll heart it and I'll like it.
Yeah.
But for me, I just be like, you can just be on mine when I post you.
Yeah.
And then that's it. Or I'm like, I might post her on my story, but of course it expires.
Yes.
So the only pictures of her is very seldom anyway.
Right.
Now, like my husband, he like, don't nobody need to know nothing. Like,
that's fair.
Let's keep it between us. I need to say something for myself. So very rarely, and I know it's weird people out there, and I do be skeptical. Like, I don't want nobody jacking off my baby pictures. But
disturbing.
It happens.
It's very disturbing.
So I think you just gotta be real mindful.
That's fair.
Of where your child is placed at, and the option is out there for someone to steal your picture, and you just got to be aware of that and know that comes with social media. But on page, homegirl don't need that right now.
Yeah, because I do believe that, like, of course, protecting your children, but also doing that in a sense on social media as well too. Like, kids aren't on social media yet; they can't make the choice. I encourage parents to have some sense of safety and discernment when it comes to posting and putting your children's information out there, because like you said, there are a lot of people out there, and there's so many scams and people who don't have the right intentions that do visit children's pages, and you just never know. So I definitely encourage parents to just be mindful of that. Encourage your kids to use their voices. Encourage for you to build a relationship with your children in a way that is safe and healthy for their development.
Yeah, and it's like, I don't want anybody like people think you're going to be a target now that you have this kid.
Yeah.
And obviously they, ugh. Yeah, girl.
Well, now we're going to get into the next part of today's episode where we play a game of this or that, pregnancy edition.
Okay.
So, would you rather have cravings or stretch marks?
Girl, give me the cravings. Because, listen, they said put olive oil, shea butter, coconut oil.
None of that worked?
They still here?
Well, I guess if the stretch marks
Man,
going to come,
all
they
the
gonna
cocoa
come.
butter palmers, you think, the cream, the
Nothing?
lotion. Girl, they still there.
Wow, I was really planning on lathering up.
But, okay, what I've heard is do it before you get the stretch marks. Lather up even beforehand. So when they come, they're not as deep and then they easily go away. Versus, oh, I got stretch marks. Now let me start rubbing this on me.
Got
So
it.
like I put the cream like on my belly. I don't have stretch marks on my belly.
Yeah.
But I have the stretch marks like on my side and then inner thigh. And of course, I didn't think to put it down there. It's just in the belly.
Yeah.
So, girl, the stretch marks is there.
So, rule of thumb, put the Shea Moisture or whatever you use it everywhere.
Girl, everywhere.
Okay.
Put it on your titties too. Put it everywhere.
Put it everywhere.
Yes.
Okay, so would you rather have natural birth?
Oh,
or-
no. You ain't got to finish the question. No, ma'am. Medicate me. Give me all the drugs. Because, listen, people said contractions were like period cramps, but a little worse.
Yeah, that's how it's explained to me.
No. So, my family knows I'm like a G. Like, you see
Yeah.
Kisha cry, it's something serious. Like, my husband only see me cry when he proposed and then when I gave birth.
God, oh my goodness.
And maybe an argument or two.
Yeah.
But listen, when I say I started contracting at a football game. And I'm walking with tears in my eyes like we got to go to the hospital. It hurt so bad. Like you literally have to tune into yourself. It's like you check out, you get in your little head and you like, self, we're going to do this. You're going to be okay. You got to push through. Like I remember banging on the wall. Like I'm not screaming, but I'm like banging on the wall. Like, it hurts so bad. And then women who do natural birth.
Yeah.
I think I died like 3 times in the emergency room. I'm not even playing.
See, I was thinking about a natural birth, but I told my friend I want it in the water.
Yeah, I wanted the water birth.
Yeah, you did.
Girl, please. When them contractions came,
Yeah, everything went out the window.
Please stop asking me, is this your first birth? Have you ever had an abortion? Are you on any medication? Sir, I am going through pain and you sitting here talking to me. Why?
It's fair. Very
No,
fair.
please don't do it to yourself, Alexis.
I don't know. I still might. My mom had my sister and I like natural. So I was like, if she could do it, I could do it. Like, come on, let's keep it going.
It takes some real tune into yourself.
That's fair. But okay, so would you have a doula or a doctor? But doulas can be doctors too.
I wanted a doula. Like,
Yeah.
if I could have had my money and my time schedule and everything in place, a doula all the way. Because
Gotcha.
I've seen going through the pregnancy, like, these doctors ask you by the book questions, and that's it. Like, how you feeling? How you eating? You got to take these labs. This is your next test. We'll see you in 4 weeks, and that's it.
very dry.
Very dry.
Wow.
Like, not, hey, how's your mental state? What are you doing spiritually? Are you connecting with your spouse? You connecting with your baby? What are you doing for your body? With nutrition? Like, none of that is asked. Your whole 9 months.
And that's insane because you would need that type of dialogue.
You would think. So, doula all the way.
Gotcha. Okay, and now this is not a this or that, but this is just another question. When it comes to preparing, like for a child and everything, what are the 3 things that you believe that you need in your? Let's say you can make like a toolkit for it to be a new mom that you didn't, because of course you went through the process already. But what are the top 3 things that you gotta have in your about to become a mommy bag?
Now, is this physical items, or is this like in my tool belt as a person?
Oh, both.
Okay. Physical items I need for my baby.
Yeah.
I mean, like diapers? Is that
Yeah.
where you're going at? Okay. Okay, definitely diapers. Wait. Okay, hold on. Is this for...
No, you chopping it
now,
up.
I'm like,
No,
hold on.
these are
now
items.
I'm like, wait, if for me to become a mom, I'm like, girl, I needed them pads because I need diapers for myself.
Yes.
So is this for her or for me?
For you.
Okay, 3 items for me.
Yes, for new moms.
So you're definitely going to need your pads or your diapers.
Explain that.
Because you're going to be bleeding afterwards, like you're on a period. You're going to be bleeding it can be up to a month. It can be 2 weeks that you're just bleeding. you know. So get the pad, and I don't wear pads anyway. So that was already, I was like, oh, I gotta wear pads, Lord.
Yeah.
Like I do the menstrual cup.
Gotcha.
So the pads was a whole new thing. I'm like, ugh, but whatever. The little bottle, it's like the Perry bottle.
I heard about that.
You know, that way it helps you cleans you out, so you don't have to touch and irritate your skin because you're already sore down there.
And I know a lot of women still uses that bottle, like not that same bottle, but they just kind of use it either after sex or after their own menstrual cycle. Like I know a lot of women still use it.
Girl, payments.
Okay.
Baby, give me that 500 milligram ibuprofen, because I need that every 6 hours.
Put it in my hand, okay?
Okay. So physical, those are to starter.
Yeah.
Those are the things. Like in me as a person.
Yes.
Just in my tool belt, like understanding I am now responsible for somebody, and being selfless to know I'm responsible for somebody. Like from now until your homegirl is grown. So it's like, okay, inner work. Number 2, inner work.
Inner work.
Work on me so that I can be my best self for her.
Yes.
And so that I'm not projecting onto her or causing her pain in any type of way that I'm not aware of. And then my last one, love.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Love, because some people grow up not feeling loved from their parents, no matter what.
That's very true.
So giving her love, making sure
that.
she knows, girl, you here, you love, you wanted, you're supported. That's what I got.
I love it.
Okay.
Well, Kisha, I thank you so much for being on today's episode. You bring so much peace, love, and joy here. And tell us, where can we find you? Where can we follow up
TikTok, Instagram, Recommit to Yourself, and then website, recommittoyourself.com.
Yes.
We have these journals here.
Where are they available for purchase?
So you can go on Amazon, but Amazon take 40%. So just go to my website so I get all of them.
Y'all, come on, think about us. We want to keep the business going.
So,
Okay.
recommittoyourself.com. You can buy from either way.
Yeah.
Let me know what you think about it. That's where I'm at.
So y'all, we'll also leave Kisha's website and where you can purchase her books in the show notes. But I hope you all enjoyed today's episode. Remember, Me, Myself, and Healing is a reflection of how healing can lead you back to your true self. And we'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.